Hey monkeys, how you doing? Damian Keys here. Welcome to #askdamo show number 13. We are rifling through
We're
these.
on it.
We'll be on 100 before you know it. So this is the show where we talk about business, social media, music industry, bands. Doesn't matter what genre you're in. Doesn't matter what problem you've got. Small, big, songwriting, covers, originals, business stuff, social media, Twitter, Instagram, whatever it is. It's totally fine to ask the question and we will do our best to answer it. So as always, with me is Melissa. So we have some questions.
We do have some questions.
By the way, I have my Damn Dice t-shirt on,
Hey.
which I just love this band. I think they're brilliant. Not only do I love them because of the music, but I love them because I'm watching them work so hard. And we haven't got sent through any prezzies this week, but this is an example for me of why bands need to take opportunities. This is a band that takes opportunities all the time, and I watch so many bands who fuck up opportunities, and it's really nice to see bands who take opportunities and little things like this where someone says, I'll wear your t-shirt. Like, I'm about to get some t-shirts done for competition prizes and stuff, but when someone says to me, I'll wear a Damian Keys t-shirt, you're fucking getting a Damian Keys t-shirt. I want you to wear that. That's just a marketing. I'm getting that shit out to you. So so Damn Dice, big thumbs up. So, right, questions, what we got?
Alright, so Harry is saying, what would you advise to a band with a niche genre? We know we're probably not going to hit mainstream success, but would like to be known in our field.
I love niche genres. I think we are living in a time where niche genres it's the best time. I know I say this a lot. It's the best time. Everything's the best time. But this is the best time if you're in a niche genre, because what used to happen back in the day, which was a Wednesday, or maybe a Tuesday, what used to happen back in the day was you'd have to advertise to a lot of people to try and get a niche. So, for example, if you're into prog rock, that's a pretty niche, but if you're into prog rock, you'd have to advertise in, say, Classic Rock magazine or Guitarist magazine for the 3% of the listeners, the viewers, or the readers that would be into prog rock to maybe see what you do. So you'd be spending all that money for 100% of the people to see you when you only actually need those 3 people. Whereas nowadays, you don't need to do that. And every couple of days, I talk to a business owner or a band or a musician who says, yeah, Facebook ads don't work for me. And I'm like, no, Facebook ads work for you. They absolutely do. The problem is not Facebook ads. You're the problem. You just haven't learned how to use them properly. Like, if someone had said to me 20 years ago when I started, building bands and that kind of stuff, if someone said to me, oh, you don't need to advertise to 1,000 people to hit 5, you can just hit 5, I'd have lost my shit. I'd have been like, fuck, is that how much is that going to cost? That sounds ridiculously expensive. If they then said, oh yeah, well, it's actually a lot cheaper, I'd have been like, I'm advertising to the 5 people I need to hit and it's cheaper. That's fucking mental. That's the world that we live in. It's just that people don't understand how important, how crazy that is, because it's been around for a little while. But you go and talk to someone who's 50 years old and just say, just hit the people that you want to hit and it'll cost you a tenth of the price. I mean, the shit will flow. So, it's an amazing, amazing time for that. So if you're in a niche market, you don't have to say, well, we're trying to find just the people in Brighton. You can find people from all over the world. The rules have all gone. So if you want to advertise to 25 to 26-year-old males who, from anywhere in the world, who bought a certain album, effectively, you can do that now. That's how crazy a time we're living in. So niche genres really work and the reason why niche genres really work is because it's kind of like super fans. When you get a band that's into a niche, I think they're more likely, you get less of them, but they're more likely to really sing about what you do because there's less noise in that area. So if you look at mainstream pop or acoustic singer-songwriter pop, there's just a huge sort of mainstream mulch of all these people. As you start getting out to sort of slightly more, you know, weird time signatures, prog rock, metal, or hardcore 8-minute hardcore house, happy hip hop, I don't know, but you know, whatever the genre is, as you start getting out into these niches, when people find you, they go, oh, thank God, that's what I was looking for. I wasn't looking for just, you know, another Adele or another Mumford & Sons or another Passenger. I like a very sort of small style of music, so that when they find you, they're much more likely to actually be a champion for your music and therefore sing more about your stuff. Is that parcels?
I think that's a present.
We just had presents.
Yeah,
oh, you get the presents. You get the presents, and we'll definitely have some presents.
With the hand from
Oh,
under the door.
we did get presents.
Oh, look at this.
So I'll finish this question. So I think with the niche thing, what's very important is finding those people and looking after those people, because there aren't as many of them. But one of the things that what was his name?
His name was Harry.
Harry. So Harry, you say that it's not going to be mainstream success, but another thing is you'd be surprised what hits mainstream success. In fact, what is mainstream success nowadays? I mean, people have this idea that it needs to be a 3-minute song so it can get on the radio, otherwise it's not getting enough airplay and therefore it's not going to actually get out there. And well, it's such a defeatist negative attitude. It doesn't actually work like that. What works like that is the most amount of people who listen to your song on Spotify / download it win the game for that particular week when it comes to the charts. So all of a sudden you get some TV play, or you just put together an absolutely fantastic campaign where you build your audience around and around and around, and you keep them really engaged and really entertained, and you just say, and guys, we're gonna fucking smash this, just like Rage Against the Machine did. Well, not Rage Against the Machine, but that couple that had the Rage Against the Machine Christmas song out, just to knock off X Factor. And it was so cleverly done, not because we all wanted Rage Against the Machine to be Christmas #1, because they sort of orchestrated it to say, this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, and this is how we're going to do it, and what we need you to do is just buy that copy between that date, and that way this is what's going to happen. And it happened, and the whole world got behind it because there was a reason to do it. Now, Rage Against the Machine aren't going to go on. In fact, they went on I think it was Radio 1, and they said, don't swear, because obviously there's the fuck you, I won't do what you told me. And it got to that stage, and they just did it anyway, because what do you fucking expect? They're Rage Against the Machine. Of course they're going to go on Radio 1 and sing it. And of course, then the producer was like, but it was an amazing campaign, you know. And I've talked I've talked to quite a few people who've had hit singles and even #1 albums who've said what was brilliant was we had a bit more of a niche compared to what was mainstream at the time, but our campaign was faultless. Our campaign was so clever. We just wound it up and we wound it up and we wound it up until we pushed the button and we said to everyone, go. And at that point, everyone did the thing. They bought the EP, they bought the single, they bought whatever it was at the time, they bought the album, and it bought enough to actually register to start getting noticed, get in the charts. And then all of a sudden the music industry have to take note, because Rage Against the Machine, for that single, they sold more than everybody else for that Christmas #1. Radio 1 couldn't just stick their fingers in their ears and go, no. So they had to acknowledge it and say that is the #1 single. Therefore, it has to, whether it gets played or gets interviewed or gets talked about, it has to do it. So I think a big part of this with niches is recognize how fucking awesome it is to have a niche nowadays and not just be in the middle lane, which there's a lot of artists. So if you are a niche, then use that to advantage. I personally would prefer to be in a niche because I feel like I could market it a lot better by steering clear of the middle and going and finding my people. As Seth Godin says, my tribe, the people that I relate to. You know, when I was 16, 17, 18, and I was just, everything was black and I probably looked like one of these guys and I felt like I didn't fit in until there was a rock club that we used to go to, and as soon as I walked in the door I was like, my people! And it was because they were just like me, and we listened to the same music, and we were away from that mainstream sort of pop at the time that everyone liked. So I found my people. You're doing the same thing, and allowing them, more importantly, to find you, and actually having this tribe, as it were, of people who are all into that niche market. Niche market is that's what it's about. It's so good now.
Yeah. So to summarise, would you just say it's about finding out who your market is and just knowing how to appeal to them?
Yeah, and then hitting them so hard that they just love you for it. Yeah.
Okay, sweet. So
parcels, presents.
Oh, I forgot.
Presents.
All right. Well, I think this one is for Mr. Al, but
is it? Oh,
this one's for you. No, that one's you.
This
one's an Al.
Yeah. All right. Let's see what we got. See, we love presents. This is what it's all about. We have got. Oh, look, it's signed. I like it when it's signed. I think that's a really nice touch. Like, people think signed stuff is a bit pretentious. I don't think it's great. It's personal touch, isn't it? Well, these are artwork. You see the artwork. So lovely pictures. Kind of worms you open. Oh, I like the fact it's got some lyrics on it. That's nice touch. I like that a lot. Very, very nice. And some pictures. Very nice. And the CD is Fifth Order. Joey sent me this. I've known Joey for a long, long time. So thank you so much for this. I will be listening to it. I will be taking pictures with it. I'll be adding it to my Instagram. This is why you take the opportunity. It's going to go on the wall. We're talking about it. We're going to put the links below. I'm going to take a picture. I'm going to put it on my Instagram. I'm going to tweet about this shit. This is going on the wall. This is what opportunities are. It's a simple opportunity. Go and get an envelope, put some shit in it, send it, and get it featured. So, dear Damo and the team, we'd like to say thanks for all the hard work you guys do and the fantastic advice you give. Thank you so much. Please find enclosed a signed copy of Motion Owl and several signed photos. We hope you enjoy the album as much as we do. The video for our single, Fairy Lights in Summer, is available on YouTube, which will be followed up by a making of video coming soon. With thanks, Fifth Order, Joey, Chris, and David. Guys, thank you so much. That's amazing. This is going on a wall to be immortalised forever. It's going to be listened to. It's going to be taken pictures of. I really, really appreciate it. So that is. So maybe not at the beginning, but but we'll stick it in the opening section.
All right.
Amazing.
So, we were just about to move on to Bonnie's question, which is, what's your best bit of advice for engaging a fan base on a daily basis?
Yeah, a very, very, very good question, because when I go and have a look through people's Facebooks, a lot of things they do is push media. And push media is something I talk about a lot. And businesses do this all the time. In fact, businesses are fuckers for doing this. Businesses do this, bands do this, and it's just me. And if you just say me, it's not bringing value. You know, you've all got that friend that when you go out for a cup of tea and you sit down and you go, how are you? And they go, well, let me tell you about it. And me. And you just sat there thinking, okay, this was good for the first few minutes, but, you know, is this a conversation or are you just talking at me? And after a while, then it's like, I suppose we should probably go. And they go, how are you? And you go, yeah, great, cheers. And then you go and you think, well, that's fucking horrible. So a conversation is a two-way streak. It's that's what it is, a conversation. And this me thing is fine a bit, but there is a place for it. And I think if you want to engage your fan base, which means using I'm using Facebook as an example, using the Facebook algorithm, which is very, very simple, which is the more likes and shares and engagement and comments you get, the more Facebook thinks it's important and starts pushing it to the rest of your fan base. So it does a little tester run and says, I'll put it out to 30 people, see how that goes. If you get a like, maybe I'll do 40. If you get 3 likes, I'll do 60, and so on and so forth. So the best way you can do that is by bringing value. Now, we talk a lot about bringing value, and putting your music out there is bringing value. When you say, here's our new single, that is bringing value. When you say, here's a picture of us live, that is bringing value, because people do want to keep up to date, but only as a certain percentage, not as everything. And a really, really great way that you guys can engage your audience, more importantly, to actually get them thinking about them instead of you, is questions. Is the very, very simple Facebook status. Something that you can do right now. You can pause this video and you can just pick up your phone and you can write a status, and the question is the key. So what I would suggest is writing a question that can involve your fan base. And so, for example, if you say something like, I don't know, who's got the new Biffy Clyro album, who thinks it's fantastic? All of a sudden, any of the people who bought the new Biffy Clyro album are going to say, I bought it, I loved it. Who was at Glastonbury this weekend? Who was your favourite act? Who watched it on TV? Who did you love the most? You know, those little questions that allow people to actually engage with you rather than you pushing stuff in your face. Because if I just say, stop, I went to Glastonbury, then it's a bit difficult to actually engage with that. It's just a statement. So people go, okay, I've taken that in, that's fantastic. And that's what people are doing. Statement, statement, statement. Me. And I want it to be a question. I want it to be both ways. You know, you can bring value by doing things that can help people, which is hopefully what I do with the content. Hopefully it's more educational marketing. But if I was in a band, I would have plenty of those questions that engage, that would just say, what do you think about blah? Or, you know, even with your journey, I've got these 2 songs. Which one do we think we should? Which should I release? Which are you more likely to buy? Whatever that is, you're actually phrasing things in a way that's allowing people to say, I've got an opinion. I'm a person. I want to take part as well. And I think those things over a period of time will radicalize people's content, comments and engagement, because people will get used to actually having conversations with you because they'll be prepared for it.
Okay. Cool. So we'll move on to Bethany. She says, on a limited budget, what would you advise as the first things to prioritise when spending money? Good question.
Yeah, it's a very good question. And whether this is a band or business, it's very, very similar. A similar answer. I think when you've got limited budget, and you have to prioritize because everyone's got a small budget, but at the same point, no one has much budget when they're musicians, especially. But you know, even when you start a business, unless you've been given £1 million to start the business and you can go to town on it, I think the most important things for me is the first impressions, and it is answering the most important question. And the most important question for any branding, any marketing, or any sales is very simple. Who are you? That question is something that people should be thinking about every day. Who are you? And therefore people can then see what you are, see what you do, and relate to you and want to be a part of your journey. If you can answer that question, and so the next thing is what you spend money on is answering that question. So I want to visually see who you are. So therefore I would prioritize a really good photo shoot. I think a really good photo shoot is something that as soon as you press enter and your page pops up, that's the first thing that your eye's going to see is a photo. They're going to go, oh, I see, I get it. So it's not just going to be some artwork that they just think, okay, so I have to hunt around to see who you are. I want it instant. I want someone to say, you've never heard of this band before, go and check them out. And they click on your Facebook, they click on your YouTube, and they see a picture and they just go, I know who you are, that's fantastic. So I think that answers the question. Picture, who are you? Then after that, if you're a musician or if you're a business, the product. The product's next important. So the product is, what do you sound like? Or what do you do? What is it that I'm going to actually latch onto? If you're a musician, it's the music. If you're a business, it's your actual product. But what is it that you do? So for bands and musicians and solo artists, you need the music. You need the thing. If you make cakes, you need to have some cakes. You can't just say, I make cakes. Because people are going to go, can I see any of your cakes? So all of a sudden, you need the product. And visually or audio-wise in the case of musicians, but what is the product? And so if you're a band, I would prioritize after that the music. These two things go hand in hand. The music of going in somewhere and actually recording your music or recording it for free for yourself in your own home studio is fine, but I would prioritize making sure it's as good as it possibly can be. We live in a society of all the times where I just say, it's the greatest time in the world, it's fantastic. There are certain things which is because of the noise, people want everything to be a bit more polished than it once was. So you can't just sit there with a mobile phone in the dark singing a song because people will just switch off and go on to find someone else. So, you know, there are plenty of studios around which don't cost that much money that you'll be spending between 120 and 150, maybe 200 quid a day for a really good studio. And even if you just have one recorded song, which is everything that sums up your music, and that one song is one of the first things that people hear and see when they get there, because you can make a video for free, then that would be the second thing I would produce. So for me, those things of, you know, making the content is more importantly than pushing the content. And that's, you know, that's very, very an interesting thing where if you're going to make the content, creativity is key. The more creative you can be when you're pushing the content. But let's actually make the content and see what gets shared first, see what people like. And then after that, that's when we can start looking at advertising and marketing and all that kind of stuff. So product always comes first. So for me, I'd be looking at, if I was starting a band, answering that question, who are you? I'd be looking at pictures, I'd be looking at demos and audio, and then I'd probably be looking at videos as well.
So product and identity, I guess.
Absolutely, yeah. Who are you? Answer that question, who are you?
And finally, Jenny said, I'm struggling to find my voice as a songwriter. How can I find a style that's right for me?
Jenny from the block.
That's the one.
Okay, so this is a hard work question. You know, how can you find your voice as a songwriter? Well, firstly, you need to do a million things. So when I was at BIM, one of my most time-consuming but most rewarding jobs was I used to have slots booked in for tutorials. And a tutorial would be 30 minutes where it would be like this. We just have a cup of tea and we talk. And my biggest bugbear out of all of the tutorials I used to have was singers/singer-songwriters that would come in and say, I don't really know what I want, because it's very hard to take it any further after that. So this is a good question because it's how do you find that style? But it's very difficult to progress too far forward if you don't know where you're going. And I think what's very, very important in music, especially when you're a singer-songwriter, is passion, is to do something that you absolutely love, that you want to do every day. Because if you're writing songs for money, it gets very old very quickly. And it's a job like everything else. But when you're working as your own songwriter, you have to believe in it. So there's a bunch of things that you can do. I think you should try writing in different genres, and you should see the rules are gone a little bit. You know, if it all represents you at the moment, then as long as it's like this is a funk track, this is a rock track, this is a pop track, then that doesn't really work. But if it all kind of fits together in a bit of a genre, and here's an interesting thing, nowadays you don't really get genres. I was chatting this to a guy the other day. You don't really get genres so much. You get moods. And record companies are looking towards moods as opposed to genres. So instead of going rock, pop, funk, metal, what they're doing is they're saying, what mood do I feel like in because I'm going to the gym? So I'm in a mood for kind of workout music, or I'm sat on the beach and I'm chilling out and I'm in more of a kind of chill out sort of mood. And so these moods are taking over from this idea of genres. And so you know, you can start to actually be a bit more vague with your songwriting to start with. So I think, you know, how do you find your voice? If it were me, what I would do is I would do 100 collabs. I would write 1,000 songs. I'd record every single one on video, and every so often I'd come across one and I'd go, that is just so me. And I would refine it. So rather than just picking one and going, that's my style, that's my genre, I would just write. I would just get stuff out. I would go, bleh, and I would put it out and I'd record it and I'd show people. And for me personally, because I'd also look at the end goal of what am I trying to achieve. And if I'm trying to achieve selling records or, you know, or money, or if I'm trying to achieve playing big gigs, then I'd also start looking at what people appreciate. So I would also start using the power of researching your audience. So I'd start talking to friends and family and showing them the songs and saying, what do you like? What stuff do you like? Because if the end goal is more important than the music, which at the moment is because you haven't got a style, so if the end goal is more important than the music, then why don't you find the stuff that you do that people like the most and start to work towards that? If you've got a very, very clear idea of the songs that you want to write and the end goal doesn't matter as much, which we've had with questions before, then that doesn't matter because you're just all about writing the music that you want to write, and then hopefully we can see how we can actually fit those niches or demographics into that niche. So, you know, at the moment I would write, I would ask questions, I would collab, I would do anything at all to just get this stuff out of me. And I'm assuming as well that this is an assumption, but when it says I'm struggling to find my voice as a songwriter, I'm assuming that this isn't 10 years into the journey. I'm assuming this isn't a long, long way into the journey. I'm assuming this is relatively new in the songwriting. So now is the time to experiment. You look at this, you look at people's lives. The first few years, when you finish college and you're 18 to 21, a lot of people just go, don't know, I'm just going to go traveling. I'm going to see. I'm going to experiment. I'm going to take things in. It's very different to 1920s where you left school, you got a job, and you stayed there for 60 years. All of a sudden, people might have 4 or 5 different career choices over their life. So you don't have to commit to something right now. You can play the long-term game, and you can say, look, I've got 50 years of this. So the next year of my life, which it's fine to do this. I'm not going to actually try and take over the world. I'm going to get good at what I do. I'm going to spend an entire year just writing in every different genre, and then it'll start to become more obvious when you're writing stuff and thinking, God, this is so what I'm into at the moment. Because I think that the patience thing, the long-term game is so important. I think people are so desperate to hit that end goal as soon as possible. Why not take your time with it? Why not get good at it first? I love the idea of learning to play piano, and I want to learn to play piano, and I'm not thinking about songwriting and gigs. At first, I just like the idea of playing piano, getting good at it. Maybe at some point then what I'd like to do is I'd like to go and do some gigs, and if I really like that, maybe I can write some songs, and then after that, it's a progression. So I think people need to think like that. I think they need to think, I need to just get this stuff out of me and work with other people and listen as much as I actually write and talk, and see what it is that's out there, and write lists of artists that you just love, and go and have a look through your Spotify and see what works, and then see your skill set and what works, see if your voice and your writing is suited to that genre. So experiment, that's what I would do.
I was in a similar position, and definitely working with other people really does help.
It's going to help because you might just, it's so easy to be caught out in a bubble, and as soon as someone said, have you thought about this, and all of a sudden that could completely blow your mind.
Opens up the vision.
Absolutely. Amazing.
All right, we are fresh out of questions.
Amazing. God, another episode done. So if you want to send through any merch, any stuff, this is opportunity. Stop, listen, opportunity. Get your stuff just in front of more people. I know I'm not a massive, huge, crazy artist. I'm not Muse that's going to have 1 million fans, but at the same point, this is a way just to get more people to go, I've heard of you. So CDs, T-shirts especially, because I can wear your T-shirts, I can actually get stuff on the wall, then just send it, and there'll be a link below which is the address if you want to send stuff through, and I'll make a big deal of it. But otherwise, thank you so much. If you want to ask questions, #askdamo. You can do that on Twitter, or you can just come and get in touch. I would advise not messaging me on Facebook, because they are starting to slow down a bit more as people start to get the message when I'm not replying to as many, but I'm getting a more spread out questions, and because Twitter is the way it is, what I love about getting asked questions on Twitter is they're always really small, whereas when I get a Facebook question and I open it up and it's like 3 paragraphs long, and they've just gone, well, it all started in 1992, and I'm like, oh fuck, I haven't got time for this. So keep your answers short. Twitter is really good. Feel free to send me a personal message on Twitter or Instagram or whatever you want it to be. #askdamo definitely helps. Otherwise, have a good week. We'll see you next week.